pleasure as well to introduce my colleague, Molly Kauffman, who is our Senior Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for Educators Rising. And she'll be leading today's webinar along with our guests from the great state of Kentucky. As we go through today, if you have any questions, we like to use the Q&A tool here in Zoom. So if at any point you have questions for either our guests or our host, Molly, please put them in the chat and we'll be sure to answer them and get you the answers that you need. Take it away, Molly.
Thanks so much, John. I am so excited to be here and especially to highlight one of my favorite states to collaborate with. I work a lot with the state of Kentucky and I'm already seeing some familiar names in the audience, which is always great. We love that. I always like to kind of start off. Before this role, I was a classroom teacher myself, so I like to share that perspective. It allows me to kind of speak to not only what's working, but what actually works in the classroom. And for me, this work just feels really full circle, and I'm excited to tell everyone more about what we do as an organization and then later highlight some wonderful colleagues of ours from Kentucky who are running the state program there. So when you become a member of Educators Rising, your students are going to gain access to some incredible state and national opportunities. The photo that's here on the screen was shared to us with us by the Kentucky team. It's one of their chapters with their State Commissioner of Education, Dr. Robbie Fletcher. And I can't wait for the team to share more about when this photo was taken, about their own state conference, and all of the great things they have going on in Kentucky. And we will hear from them very shortly. So let's talk about today's reality. Across the nation, we know that districts are finding it increasingly difficult to hire an adequate number of qualified teachers at the start of each school year. We've seen a very clear decline in interest in the teaching profession just in general, which is contributing to the national teacher shortage that we have here. At the same time, though, we know that students who are participating in career technical student organizations like Educators Rising that align with their values, their interests, are more likely to stay in that profession because they gain meaningful experiences that are relevant to them early on. So if you have students participating in activities that they enjoy, that they find passion in, they're going to want to stay in that profession. And that is something that we take pride in here at Educators Rising. And many of you have probably heard the statistic that 60% of teachers actually work within 20 miles of where they themselves went to high school, which reinforces how powerful Grow Your Own and CTSOs for students can be. And some of you in the audience probably can relate to that statistic or actually fit into it. So it's something that is obviously very important in this profession. So next, we're going to take a look at we've talked about the reality of what this nation is going through with the teacher shortage, and now we're going to talk about students. When we look at and when we look at and we think about today's students, teaching should resonate with them. They're looking for purpose-driven careers. They are open to teaching and open to the idea of it. And we know that they are not going to stay in a job if it lacks purpose. The alignment of young people who are in school wanting to do things that they're passionate about, that they're interested in, is a huge opportunity for us in the field of education and for districts themselves to leverage that interest that students have into the field of education. So how do we as Educators Rising fit into this? This work has actually been around for over 100 years. We started off as Future Teachers of America in the 1930s. We shifted to, so that was FTA. We shifted to Future Educators Association, FEA, in the 1930s. And in 2015, we evolved into Educators Rising, which is now our primary focus of our parent organization, PDK International. So we just celebrated actually 10 years of Educators Rising this past year, and just a few months after that, we held our largest conference ever, which we will get into in a little bit. But we do have 40 state affiliates across the United States, including one just this past month in March. Hawaii joined us as a state affiliate. And we have 25,000 members nationwide, over 20,000 students, thousands of chapters, primarily in high school, but we also have chapters in middle schools and colleges. And so last year when we celebrated our 10 years of Educators Rising. We had our largest national conference yet in Orlando, Florida. We had over 3,000 students there, and it was just something, one of those events where you really have to be there to experience it and understand the impact. And when you get to work with students who are teenagers who are so well prepared to enter not just a classroom, but the education profession, it's really great to see the difference between someone like myself, who was alternatively certified, versus a high school student who comes into a classroom or into a conference like this and they're ready to go. They're so professional, and they know what it takes to be in this profession. And so I think that's something that speaks to why we don't view Educators Rising as just an organization for students. It's a movement, it's a true grow your own strategy that's rooted in the same idea. People want to come back and serve the communities that shaped them, and they want to feel passion and alignment within their work. And working in your own community does just that. So, what do we do? We talk a lot about the 5 C's at Educators Rising. So, they are a framework that districts use, and we know that every state and district looks very different, but our fully articulated program gives students hands-on early learning experiences to expose them to the teaching profession, often starting out interning in preschools and primary classrooms within their own districts. And so those 5 C's, we have our chapters, we have curriculum, competitions, conferences, and the community. And these are the 5 C's that build out strong programs to prepare future educators, whether they become teachers or pursue other roles in education, because we know that education isn't just those classroom teachers. And so, as I mentioned, our national conference earlier, there's also state conferences. So the Kentucky State Conference, which we will be highlighting when we speak to the team later, is something that has grown exponentially over the years. And it's just a great way for students to really be exposed to like-minded peers who are interested in the same things as them and get to showcase their skills and all of the great things that they learn from either our chapters or our curriculum. And so our curriculum is at the center of what we do, though it's optional, but it provides everything that you need to create your own program. We know that at the heart of any instructional program is a strong curriculum. It shapes the experiences students have, it shapes the experience that teachers have. And so some schools we know are still building out full pathways and they use our curriculum supplementally while others use it to support chapter activities. And some use it as a full-blown curriculum from start to finish. And so for those of you who are looking for a comprehensive option, we do have a subscription-based curriculum. It's developed with national partners aligned to the Educators Rising standards and those competitions that I referenced. So students are actually utilizing the knowledge that they gain within those resources to bring it back full circle into the classroom. Each of the lessons comes with teacher guided notes, student guided notes. It is built out for a full 2-year program, but it's flexible enough to meet the needs of your district. Like I've said quite a few times, we understand that schools and districts are all very different. So the way that we have set it up is that it's easy to implement right away. It's customizable, and it's a fantastic resource. And I think that's kind of also why I always like to plug that I used to be a teacher myself, because I'm not speaking from just the organization standpoint. From my own classroom experience, I know that this is something that is a comprehensive, amazing resource. And if you are in need of curriculum, Lisa put it in the chat. You can email us at community@educatorsrising.org. So that's a little bit about our curriculum. And then chapter resources. Starting a chapter is one of the simplest processes. It takes just one teacher and just one student to begin a chapter. So even if you don't feel like you have the numbers right now or the enrollment, that's okay. If you have one student who's interested in education, that's enough. That's enough to spread the word, to have them have their friends join your chapter. And it only costs $15 per student for our national dues. Some states do have their own state dues to support local events like competitions and conferences on their own. But once you start a chapter, you immediately gain access to a wide range of comprehensive resources as a teacher leader. So anything from recruitment and fundraising ideas for your chapter to hosting signing day events for those senior students who are graduating and moving on to a university, to preparing for those competitions and contests during those state and national conferences. We also just recently, if you are in the audience and are a teacher leader, you probably know this, but we've reorganized these resources in our portal to make them more user-friendly based directly on some teacher feedback. And that's something you'll find with us at Educators Rising across our whole organization. We listen and we continuously want to improve our processes to not only impact student learning, but to make teachers' lives easier. We know that it is a position where, your time is limited, and we want to make sure that you have the resources readily available without having to sacrifice your own time. And so getting into talking about those events, the national conference, as I mentioned, state conferences. Our national conference, like I said, was the largest yet in Orlando. Thousands of students come together from all over the country to compete against their peers in our standards-based competitions. They're all aligned to the curriculum if you use that. If you don't, they all come with rubrics that students can actually read. They can do them as group projects. There are endless possibilities of how to use those competitions and contests. And I always like to highlight one of the competitions. It's called our EdRising moment. It's a signature competition where students speak to an audience, a live audience, about the moment that they decided they wanted to become an educator. We always joke and say, if you're going to watch that competition, make sure you bring some Kleenex because you're probably going to cry. I cried at the Illinois State Conference. I've cried at the national conference. But apart from that, these are events too where students get to be exposed to different colleges and universities who come visit and exhibit at our conference, and they get to meet students from all over the country. It's a really unique experience. I think one of my personal favorite experiences was last year in Orlando. Our Alaska team came, and some of those students had never been on a plane, let alone in Florida. And so you really get to watch students growing, not only within that education profession and doing all of the things that they're doing for EdRising, but you get to watch these amazing moments of them just developing as humans. So finally, last couple of things from me here. We have just released recently a GYO Grow Your Own Playbook. So if you don't have a program, you don't have a pathway, you are just at the beginning, that's okay. Stay with us. We're going to show you how to get access to our Grow Your Own Playbook, which takes you through a full district level approach to building a program with intention for sustainability, using that data to guide your decisions. So we know that starting these chapters are easy, and the first part can be the easiest part of, just getting started. But this is really going to be something that helps districts build out their programs without having to recreate the entire wheel, and being able to use the knowledge that we have from years of doing this work to really build out your own pathway. And that's my spiel. So I am so, so excited to introduce some of our guests for you today. We have got three wonderful visitors from Kentucky Educators Rising. And I'm just very excited to have them all here with me today. Feel free to come on out. So first, I'd like to introduce Bree Massey, the state coordinator for Kentucky Educators Rising, former teacher leader and curriculum user, might I add. And it was so funny when Bree first started, I remember she contacted me and I said, wait a minute, I've seen your name before. And it's because I worked with her as a teacher leader before she was the state coordinator. Alongside her, we have Leah Jefferson, a fantastic all-star teacher leader, and Alyssa Pollard, the director of membership. And so I am going to hand the baton to you guys. Feel free to add in some more of your own intro and take it away.
Thank you, Molly. We are so happy and thrilled to be sharing with the nation today. That's crazy to think about, little Kentucky. But we have so much to share with you, and I know Leah and Alyssa have each their own unique perspectives. Leah has been nationally recognized at the conference last year in Orlando. We were so happy to see them bring home the Eddie Bear Big Spirit Award. And Alyssa has been incredible this year, helping with our membership connection points, and played a huge role in our state conference. And she can kind of talk about that experience as well. But we are a grow your own pipeline state, and I'm happy to say that I was kind of grow your own before I knew what grow your own was. And I share with chapters often that I was only hired because I was from that area. I interviewed, and I remember my mentor teacher telling me it was so close and it was so hard to choose between the two of us, but me being from that school ultimately sealed the deal. And I did not realize how precious that was until I stepped into the role, and I realized I knew families, and I knew the areas that students were from and what that might implicate regarding their needs. So I realized how advantageous that was. And to be in this role now just feels like a huge blessing, because we all understand how important the pipeline and the grow your own approach is to aiding in our recruitment strategies and our teacher shortages. And not only that, but we're keeping a positive school culture and building retention in our districts. So our early entry model for Grow Your Own aims to recruit high school students. We're really trying to dig to middle school, but right now we're really doing well with our high school students who show interest in the field of education, like we said, or just may need a nudge, like they don't know it yet, but they possess those leadership traits that we see. They don't have that EdRising moment, but we hope that we are going to provide that for them. And we give them so many beautiful opportunities, like college campus visits, where they're sitting with the colleges of education, sitting with their faculty, having panel conversations with their faculty and staff, hands-on authentic learning experiences in classrooms through our partnerships with Junior Achievement, where our students become heroes in a day, and work in classrooms all day teaching financial and business literacy lessons. So that's a cool partnership that we have. In addition, we give them professional learning opportunities through our regional and our statewide conferences. We have pathways that offer dual credits, some up to 12 hours of college credit, among several other opportunities like networking with district personnel. And then some districts offer incentives and additional stipends or guaranteed interviews to those students who come back and teach in those home districts. So we love that model at that early entry level, but we can't forget that we also have those mid-year level teachers, or teachers who are inspired to grow as they journey through their career, right? So our Grow Your Own model looks to expand those opportunities for teachers who want to grow into maybe admin positions, other professional leadership positions in the district. I think what I love about that model personally is that it gives your school culture, and you give that role to the faculty and staff to carry on those legacies and traditions, and just things that the school does that is just wanting to be kept and wanting to be carried out in the future. And we rely with Educators Rising on student leadership and student voice. So I love the beauty of Educators Rising being the heartbeat of Grow Your Own, because we give them that ownership and they see that we appreciate teacher voice. So eventually, hopefully, they're working alongside their teacher leaders, their future colleagues, to give their school the best culture and climate it can. So in my Grow Your Own journey, I got to see my principal, my science teacher in middle school became my principal. And then another one of my colleagues became the superintendent, all while I was at one school. So it's an incredible pipeline for Kentucky. And I'll let the others take it away if they want to add to what that's done for their districts and at the student level.
So I have a unique experience in that I am at the Ignite Institute, which is considered a regional school in our area. And we have many high school feeder schools that we provide career pathways to. And one of those career pathways is education. And I feel like with our Grow Your Own program, we particularly entice students who want to be in the teaching profession, but we also promote other careers that support education, but maybe not a traditional teaching model. We have a lot of summer opportunities that we're trying to promote for the professions, as well as, our zoos have curriculum and education aspects, museums. We also promote law and criminal justice for social work, police officers, and so forth, because their heavy populations would be maybe advocating for education programming as lawyers and school districts, as well as promoting criminal justice social workers and policemen who work with students and trying to keep them on the straight and narrow. So that is one experience with my particular location and so forth, is that our students do apply for our school, but it's not based on you're the highest achieving. It's based on, what's your passion, where do you see yourself led? And I feel like having been a former middle school principal for 11 years, a high school principal for 3 years, a district administrator for 7, and now finishing my 32 years in education, I've seen all of those careers. And so I feel like with our program, I can guide students to many career paths, because it takes many voices to put out there the good that our public schools are doing. And I feel like by not turning away anyone and sometimes convincing them that teaching's where you need to be, we get to promote Educators Rising, and our firm foundation of educators are, the inspiration to all careers.
And I just wanted to say like a little bit about like my school. So we do like the dual credit classes at our school. So I have 12 credit hours for teaching as a senior. And I'm also known for, I'm president of my chapter. So I'm known for kind of hunting kids down and being like, hey, you seem like you could do a project. And then kind of meeting with them to think about what could be the best project for them. So for example, this year we had a girl, she's like in one of the business pathways at my school. And I reached out to her and I was like, you have really good like public speaking, and I think you would be a really good fit for like one of the speaking competitions we have. And she ended up doing the Exploring Support Service Careers presentation. And she did it on a school psychologist at our school. And it kind of like helped her really see like, I can do more than just like business stuff. I can also do things in the education pathway that aren't necessarily teaching, but are other things that are helping students, other things that are like other ways to teach others. And she kind of realized that that was one of her passions that she really hadn't found before, because she kind of just thought that teaching was just for teachers, but teaching is more of a leadership skill than it is just a label. So she ended up getting first place at the Kentucky State Conference. So she's going to be going to nationals with us. And she's not the first person to do that either. So I'm really proud of kind of how we are able to reach out to other people and not convince them, but kind of guide them into learning more about themselves. Because even myself, like I came into high school thinking that I was just gonna be an elementary school teacher and that was gonna be it for me, and I was gonna be there for until I retire. And now I'm like, okay, I want to start in elementary, but eventually I want to do administration and get my doctorate and stuff like that too. So it enabled me to think about other opportunities and other ways that I can grow out within the teaching world.
That was amazing. I teared up at the beginning. I something about students being so excited to make videos like that in high school. It it just makes me really happy. Take it away, Bree.
Yeah, and I do want to add, we got our entire leadership team at KDE to come into the video too. You see our Commissioner of Education and
Yeah.
the Office of Career and Tech Education also
I
shared a
mean,
clip. It was
yeah,
like a whole team effort. It really did show, like, the how united Kentucky is. So
absolutely.
we were really we had our largest conference yet as well. We were very proud to see a consistent increase in our registration and in our competition numbers. So we had about 875 students register for this year's state conference. I'll start at the top. We have at this point 1,170 current ERKI members. I've shortened it to ERKI for some reason. That just is sticking with me. Educators Rising Kentucky has now become ERKI in my head. And we are boasting 65 plus chapters. That's about a dozen new chapters from last year. We have a solid 6 student officer team. We have they're from Mayfield to Louisville. And we had 19 apply for student officer positions this year. That's incredible. We've never seen that number with the student officer applications. So we right at this point have 4 fall conferences that we offer, but we have our regions looking to add conferences. So Moorhead and Louisville are really looking at that opportunity for next year. So we're hoping to see all regions with conferences, even if it's just like a mini leadership conference for next year. We have 1 state conference, and we have an amazing Kentucky Department of Education DIRD team, which is our Division of Educator Recruitment and Development, that supports me and supports all our student officers, and they're an incredible team. But I love our map with our Eddie Bears. That kind of shows you where we
I was gonna
see.
say I love the Eddie Bears on the
Yeah.
because you sent me the other map with just the pins, but this is much more visually
This one
appealing. I
showed up at
love it.
state to show us where everyone was from. So
Great. Okay. So some questions, some Q&A. So some of these, um, Bree, if you do you want me to go through question by question? How?
we covered, I covered this one a little bit in
Okay.
my intro. I kind of wanted to get that one ahead. We can move on to the next if we want.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. So this one is going to be for Alyssa. So we want to know from you, just we already heard a little bit about yourself and kind of a little bit of your story, but kind of what was your Educators Rising moment? Or, what do you see how this program has impacted you throughout high school and kind of for your future?
So I can honestly say, like, not to be cliche, but I think like joining Educators Rising like a freshman year was probably the best choice I made. Like going into high school, because obviously high school is a new thing for everyone, and you're kind of taking a leap to figure out who you are and what you want to do. And honestly, coming into high school, I decided to go to high school like 40 minutes away from where I live, because I was like, you know what, they have a teaching pathway there, and I think that it's something that I would be interested in doing. Um, and I think that whether being a leader in my school chapter as president or being a state officer, I've learned so much about the importance of developing a passion for teaching and learning. And I believe that this is something that's really important, especially for kids my age, because the earlier that we develop this passion and teach effective practice for teaching, the more the attitude of preparedness towards teaching extends into like being a teacher in the career. And I think that's something that I talk about a lot in reducing like burnout and stuff like that, because I know that's a big conversation that um, a lot of students have a lot, because a lot of kids are scared sometimes about um, the future of education, and then also being supported at all times, especially further down the road. And however, I think that joining programs like Educators Rising really does foster a community of leadership and service. And I think those are really two of the most important qualities of a great leader and then also a great teacher. And having like a community at my side with like my state officer team or just the kids in my chapter, or even like going to the state conference or the national conference and seeing all of these people who are so passionate about what they do, it's really inspiring and it kind of keeps you moving and wanting to do more things and really is like really motivating.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. You touched on, I mean, community and leadership. Those are two of our core values. I mean, it's something, community keeps you together, and those leadership skills, I certainly didn't have them in high school. So kudos to you. So the next question I have is going to be for Bree. So and you've touched on a couple of standout moments, but just anything from the 2026 state conference this year in Kentucky. It just happened in March, that was a standout for you or a milestone.
We were happy to offer a red carpet walk for teacher leaders. I think that was the standout moment. Not only did it give teachers that opportunity to feel like the celebrity in the room, it gave students the opportunity to cheer for their teacher leaders. And that was the fun part, is to watch just the students and just the excitement behind rooting for your person, right? Your teacher leader, and just the pride in all the chapters that we saw. And then we were able to host our first delegate meeting. And we thought that was really important because we take the student voice very seriously. And I know that we were really wanting to kind of replicate that national model. And I see that being so beneficial to our state approach, right? We rely on our students to determine a lot. And so we did that at the state level. And we had about 40 delegate names sent in. And I wasn't able to be in the meeting with them, but I heard that it was very valuable and that they are so eager to get working on next year. And we plan now it's kind of helping guide our planning for next year's conference. We're thinking that with all of our delegates, we can have feet on the ground and kind of help in areas where we were thinking we needed adults, but we could probably just rely on our student leaders, like room assistants and things like that. And so it's really going to, I think, change our whole structure and help us keep the organization and keep everything moving at a good pace for next year. So that, I think, was so incredible for us to offer that for our students and for just to benefit our whole organization. And then while that was happening, Leah was I'm so grateful for Leah. So she was leading a teacher leader meeting at the same time. So we kind of had a delegate voice opportunity and then a teacher leader opportunity for them to share ideas and to help new teacher leaders. So, we rarely get to hang out as teacher leaders as a group, especially in person. We have our virtual meetings, but this was a rare opportunity. So we took advantage of it, and they were able to give us some good feedback.
Awesome. That's great. So this next question is still for you, Bree. We've kind of touched on it a little bit when you went over the different people involved, but what partnerships, whether it be districts, post-secondary institutions, or other organizations, have helped strengthen all the work that has gone into EdRising Kentucky? Because we know, everyone in the audience knows, this is not a one-man job. This is a whole community of people coming together.
Mm-hmm. And it really is. It becomes a village. We have incredible partnerships at our post-secondary levels and our dual credit partners. And I can't say enough about what they have done for our organization. Like I said, a lot of them are willing to host conferences. A lot of them are hosting conferences currently. I'm hearing about other opportunities they're giving students, like hosting feedback sessions with their with college students. Some of our universities sent judges from their classrooms, and it just, their support goes a long way. We always host a vendor fair for students at our state conference, and we had about 25 tables this year, so that was good. We have a huge partnership with Junior Achievement. They offer a Heroes in a Day kind of like teaching elementary lessons, financial business literacy lessons, like I said earlier, to schools in the district. Not only does that help your feeder programs and help get your face and your voices out there, but you're helping your classrooms and your community. And I can't go without saying that some of your best partners are within your district. So reach out to your HR, reach out to your teachers and other service members, other roles in the building. I partnered with our MSD teacher, and we were able to like do kind of a buddy kind of activity with our MSD students. We partnered with our school, and we offered like a child care program for our children of the staff. So look inside too, look at your home, right? We're growing our own, and we continue building that community through this type of work. So we have incredible partners and organizations behind us.
Awesome. We love that. This next question is for you, Leah. With all of your experience within education, like you kind of touched on before, I guess, just what advice would you give to states, districts, even just schools, from your perspective that are looking to grow or implement an Educators Rising program?
Well, I think the biggest thing that I felt like kind of helped me along the way was looking at the curriculum. We have a teaching and learning pathway. I'm also an NKU for Northern Kentucky University. I'm an adjunct professor for the Education College. So I partner with them in their curriculum and so forth. I took the events that are offered from the national, and then I just kind of planned them out in a kind of a web, kind of like which kind of fit in this curriculum and that curriculum and so forth, but still allow student choice and interest and those types of things. Because sometimes as teacher leaders, we're like, I don't have time to work on all of these events. And so if you can kind of start to, separate them, this could be first year, this could be second year kind of projects and those kinds of things. I think that helps break it up, not seem so overwhelming. Also, with the fact that the rubrics are right there, the teacher doesn't have to be the holder of all of the information. And, as a teacher, if you want to be a future teacher, you are never given a guide that says, do this from start to finish and you'll be fine. A lot of times you're creating that guide as you're going along. So I try to instill on the kids that, okay, what's the rubric say? Because that's what you got, that's your final product. And so they partner together and brainstorm. So that's one of the biggest things, was just to kind of take that and break that across the curriculum that you plan to teach. The second thing is you can't do everything. And so find key people. Maybe they're not even, I have some people who aren't even teachers of the education college who are good mentors and so forth, that are always willing to partner on a special project, or maybe they're able to aid some time for a certain group of kids doing the certain event to be mentors. And so sometimes farming that out and setting up those opportunities can help in that regards. And then the more partnerships that you can create that gives your kids authentic experiences in the classroom, because, as the career teacher teaching the teaching and learning pathway courses, or even as an NKU adjunct professor, there's just so much learning that can be happening that but until you're in a real experience, you don't really understand, or they don't truly put it into application. So getting kids in elementary schools, getting kids in preschool settings, setting up volunteer opportunities, because, every school always needs volunteers. And so I usually reach out to my family resource centers, my principals, shoot them kind of like an opening email every year, that kind of thing, saying, hey, I've got kids who want service hours. I've got kids who want to be in the classrooms. I've got kids who want to be hands-on. And, most of the time, teachers want that extra set of hands and those types of things. You just sometimes, even though you didn't get a response when you sent it out the first time, maybe choose a different audience the second time or repeat it because people are busy. And so just because you didn't get a response doesn't mean they don't want to do it. It just could have been that they overlooked it. And so I often also visit many of my feeder elementary and middle schools and just try to put a name and a face and, hey, I sent you an email, or I'll be sending you an email. Here's what my chapter can offer you. And so sometimes getting on their faculty meetings, or maybe if you can't visit, you could send a video of what I can offer and those types of things, because we all know if you can put a name and a face and you can show some examples, more people will be like, oh, so that's what that email was about, that type of thing. And a lot of times, if I can show, here's what my students can do, and they can show a little bit of their work or their excitement, then that also helps. But yes, as the teacher leader, you can't do it all. So you need to enlist partners that maybe take a few things off of your plate while you do those nitty-gritty pieces. So
Yeah.
those are the best things that I can suggest.
Yeah, those are great. I especially love you emphasizing that you can't do it all. I think the teaching profession is full of men and women who think they can do it all and they want to do it all for their students. And the reality is we have all these great resources so that they don't have to do it alone. And they can get, the support and help they need. So thank you so much, Leah. We have one final question left, and this one is going to be for you, Alyssa. I wanted to leave us on a student-centered note. And I know you've already kind of spoken a little bit to your own experience, talked about your EdRising moment. But if you could speak to a student who is on the fence, like your friend who went from business to education, about joining EdRising, what would you tell them about the impact it's had on you, or even just what would you say to them?
So, like going into Educators Rising, so the first like leadership position I have was like in my own chapter at school, and I did like social media and stuff like that. And the teacher, like I would make the caption and she would like do everything else. So I was like, okay, I need to do something else because I kind of realized like I kind of want to have more involvement and stuff. So then like my sophomore year, I became vice president of my chapter at school. And then last year I became vice president of my chapter at school, and then I applied to be a national officer, and I got like in the top 8. So that was a really like interesting experience because I applied with like no idea that I was gonna get like picked. And so it was like my first experience having like a really formal interview and like getting to see all these people that I've only ever seen like talking on stage at nationals. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really surreal. And I think like my biggest advice would be like do it because you don't know if you're gonna get it. So like put yourself out there, and this is one way that you can do that because there's plenty of positions like state officer positions that you can apply for. And also last year I applied to be a state officer. So I got that, and then that was like more than I could ever what I ever thought the role was going to be, because I've gotten to go to the Capitol and talk to people in Congress, and like really like put my passion out there and like advocate for myself and as well as like my fellow students and future teachers. And that's like something that I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't have like taken a chance and maybe applied to stuff that I didn't think I was qualified for, but then other people were like, wow, like she can probably do it, so let's give her a chance. So that'd be my biggest advice. And then I think that Educators Rising is really like a good place to do that kind of stuff and take on those leadership roles because it's a safe space because everyone is learning how to be a good leader and a good teacher at the same time. And teaching is all about making mistakes and learning from them. So, especially like these past 4 years being in high school, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've done a lot of things that could be better. But then having those voices, those experienced teachers and like chapter sponsors and stuff, like giving me advice has really furthered me along. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the support and the community that Educators Rising provides.
What a great answer. I love the just do it. Just try it out. Why not? Because I agree. You never know unless you try. The answer is always no if you don't ask. So the answer is always no if you don't try. So I love that. And thank you so much for sharing. I think this entire webinar has really showed this quote right here and how grow your own is powerful. We've heard from three people from the state of Kentucky who came from grow your own in one way or another, whether still a student, now working for Educators Rising, or like Leah, who's been in many different positions within education and has made her way back into the classroom. So, we know that grow your own is powerful, and I just want to thank you guys so much for being here and for sharing your experiences and all the amazing things going on in Kentucky. Um, so if there are any other questions that you guys wanted to ask, I am all good on questions for you. And just thank you so much for being here.
I want to officially thank our three guests, Alyssa, Bree, and Leah, for joining us this afternoon on behalf of PDK International. We appreciate all that you're doing in your state, not only to promote Educators Rising as a leading CTSO in the space of education and training pathways, but also to inspire the students that you come into contact with to consider a potential future career in education. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that you can get in touch with us. You can get in touch directly with Molly through community at educatorsrising.org. We are happy to answer any questions about any of the resources that we offer. If you have questions for our guests, we will certainly pass those on. If you would like more information about our program, you can scan the QR code that's on the screen. That will put you in touch with us as well, and we can get you specifically what you need. Short little questionnaire there. It says, what do you want more information about? And we will set you up. Well, Molly, thank you for being our host this afternoon. Thank you again to our guests and all the folks who joined us. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too, Alyssa.
Thank you.